Coming up on this episode of the Hockey Nuts, Steve and I get you caught up with all the news of the past week around the hockey world. The NHL playoffs are well into the conference finals, and Steve and I will get you caught up with everything that's happened in both series. We'll have the details of all this, plus the Minor League Hockey Minute, the International Hockey Minute, and our picks of the week coming up next. This is the Hockey Nuts Podcast, Season 2, Episode 37, recorded on Thursday, May 17th, 2018. NHL Playoff Conference Final, Games 1 through 3.
Shut up and sit down.
Scheifele puts the puck in deep. Fleury, hard up the glass. Wheeler trying to knock it down. Can't do it. The Knights clear it. That'll just about do it because Marchessault gets to the puck first, and he scores! Open the scoring 35 seconds into the game, and he'll close it 3 seconds before the finish. What a game. What a back and forth swing fest that was. And what a night for 33-year-old Marc-Andre Fleury.
Like he'd like to, like he's used to. He's leads the NHL in postseason goals going back from 2015. So he's used to scoring in the postseason. But he wasn't scoring tonight. His team wasn't scoring enough. And full marks to the Washington Capitals. They will head home leading this series 2-0. They are full worth for a 6-2 win. A shambolic night for the Tampa Bay Lightning and a night to celebrate for the Caps. 6-2 the final. Washington winners. That's the story tonight here in Tampa.
Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 37 of the Hockey Nuts Podcast. My name is Wayne. I'm here once again with Steve. How's it going tonight, Steve?
Going great, Wayne. Sipping and enjoying a Arizona green tea and looking forward to another podcast with you.
Yeah, this is actually take 2. We actually started about 10 minutes ago. I discovered we were having a little audio problem, so I stopped it, and then just no sooner fixed the audio problem, my internet dropped out again. It's happening a little more often lately, and it's getting rather annoying for the internet to drop out. So here we go again. We're trying for a second time. So without further ado, we have a lot to talk about tonight. We have the wrap-up of the last round. We had one game that had yet been played when we last did the podcast about a week ago. So we got that game to talk about. And then we have, we're down to 4 teams left in the NHL.
4 teams. Really shocking, Wayne, if you think about it. The representative from the Western Conference will have never been in the Stanley Cup.
Yep.
Neither Winnipeg nor, of course, the Vegas Golden Knights have ever played in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yep. Never mind win one. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and as for the Eastern half, there's really only one Stanley Cup between the two of them. So
that's right.
Tampa Bay has their cup that they got a few years. Yeah, 2004.
2004.
Yep.
Don Tortorella.
Yep. And then I think they've been in the. Have they been in the final? Other than that, they've been in a couple of.
They went to the final a couple of years ago, either against Pittsburgh or Chicago.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Washington's been to the final, but they've never won a cup. So
right.
Yeah, a lot of new teams this year. So I'm excited for that. Actually, always like to see somebody new winning the Stanley Cup. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
We've got those 2 series to talk about, And we've got an announcement, too, with the podcast. And we might as well go ahead and get that out of the way first. Steve and I actually met yesterday at a local restaurant around here. And we talked a few things over about the future of the podcast and kind of thing, as we wrap up our second year, kind of where we want to take things. And right. Steve has actually decided that he's going to step back to being a part-time host. So he won't be with us on every single week podcast, and he'll just be popping in from time to time. Probably be our Rangers consultant going forward, and so he won't be with us with every show, but he will get on as often as he can. It's just become difficult with his work schedule to fit the podcast in every single week. So with that in mind, and it's something I've been thinking about doing for quite some time anyway, is I'd like to build a bench, I guess is the best way to put it, of hosts. There's other podcasts out there that I listen to that have basically a rotating group of hosts that come and go throughout the year or throughout the show or whatnot. And I'd like to head for that direction. We're 2 years in now. We've built a loyal following. We've got regular contributors to the show, and there's got to be some listeners out there that would like to get even more involved, and I think this is your best opportunity right now. So I'd like to have anybody who is interested in coming on and being a guest on the show, just for a little bit of the logistical part of it. Basically, Steve and I each week get on Skype, and we do this right over Skype. I record it, and then we put it out there. Obviously, if you know how to use Skype, or if you ever used Skype before, that's essentially all you would need is a computer, a microphone, and you don't even need that. Steve's using a built-in microphone on his computer. He's just using a computer with Skype, which is free, and then we just agree to meet each week, and then we record the show, and then we put it out there. So up until now, Steve and I have been the only two hosts, so we've just been coordinating when that would be best for the two of us to meet, and it rotates from week to week. Sometimes we do it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, sometimes even as late as Friday. But with this going forward, with Steve dropping a part-time, I'd like to get a group of hosts together. If you want to come on and be a host each week, that'd be great. If you can only do it once a month, that's fine. But we're inviting all of our listeners out there to step up to the plate and become a host if you feel like you've got something to say. Doesn't matter what team you're a fan of. That doesn't matter to me whatsoever. You'll get your chance to talk about your team, obviously, if you come on the show. But we do talk about, if you're a listener to the show, we talk about all NHL teams. We talk college, we talk minor league, we talk European, we talk all kinds of hockey out there. So just an open invitation for anybody who wants to possibly come on and be a co-host of the show. Like I said, you could do it part-time, you could do it each and every week. And because we're going to have a group of hosts, what I thought I would do also to make things easier on everybody, instead of having a rotating kind of recording at different times of the week, depending on everybody's schedule. I think what I want to do is once we do go to this format, I want to lock it in so that we're recording the same time, same day, each and every week. That way, all of our hosts know exactly when we're going to be recording. And right now, I haven't finalized it for sure, but right now, what works best for me anyway is Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. So if you're available Wednesday nights, 8 p.m., you want to come on, talk hockey. What I generally do with Steve is I prepare the show notes, the topics that I personally want to talk about, and I send him a link to my Dropbox that has the file in it. He takes a look at the file, reads over the show notes, adds any of his stories that he wants to put in, and then we go from there. So that's generally how we do it, and if that's something that's interested to you, go ahead and reach out to me. You can reach me at feedback@thehockeynuts.com, or you can tweet me. I'm at Wayne Halley 9, and it's WayneHallee 9. That's the number 9 on Twitter, and I'll be happy to discuss any further details with you. So that's where we're headed. So with
That's where we're headed.
Yep.
I made a commitment to you. Let's hope it stays that I'm here with you through the Stanley Cup, Wayne, and I think that's what we talked about, and that's still good for you. That's what we're intending on doing. So
yeah, we're going to transition into the multi-host format as the the NHL season ends, and as we head into the off season and go into the off season and head into next year. So by the time next season starts, I want to have at least, with you included, probably 3 additional co-hosts that can come on. We can do as little as one-on-one. We can go as many as, I don't know how many Skype will allow us to do, but have as many as 4 or 5 people on at once talking hockey. So yeah, the more the merrier, is what I say.
Yeah. And I appreciate it so much, Wayne. That just real quickly, I've had some changes in my life here in the last couple of weeks with my job situation, and it's just things are difficult for me. This has been probably one of the most surprising and fun things I've ever done, is doing a podcast. I had no idea when I started how much I would appreciate this and how much it has been a great thing for me to do. I've grown exponentially. So I'm going to definitely miss being full time, but I appreciate everything you've done, Wayne, and let's just leave it at that. I will talk here in a couple weeks and say something more as the season gets very close to ending. Yep,
and I appreciate you. You've been a fun addition to the show, and we were. I can speak for all listeners that we've enjoyed having you on, and of course we look forward to continue to have you on from time to time as well. Yep. Even though it's going to be on a part-time basis. So, right. But yeah, always look forward to your Rangers insight. I've learned more about the Rangers in the last couple of years than I probably want to know.
I appreciate that, Wayne. I've become a pseudo Bruins liker now, and I wouldn't admit that to most people, but I guess I just did. But I've gained a lot of respect for the Bruins in the last couple of years.
Well, good. All right.
The Hockey Nuts podcast can be found on major podcast search engines like Apple Podcasts and Google Play Music. Just search for the term The Hockey Nuts in whatever app you use to get podcasts. We can also be found at thehockeywriters.com on their podcast page. TheHockeyWriters.com is a great place to get more stories and content about our favorite sport. We love listener involvement, and there are a few ways you can get involved with the show. You can email the show at feedback@thehockeynuts.com, or you can leave us a voicemail in our mailbox at 919-960-1718. You can also tweet us. I'm at Wayne Halley 9. Steve is at sball504man. Also, be sure to visit our website at thehockeynuts.com. There you can see all of our past episodes archived, and you can listen to the show through your web browser on that site. As always, links and stories that we mentioned in the show are available in the show notes for this episode. In addition to our website, you can also watch us record the show each week live on YouTube. We generally record on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday nights, depending on our work schedules. You can find our YouTube channel at thehockeynuts.com/YouTube. The show is a hobby and a labor of love for us, but the production of it is not free. To help us offset the cost of producing the show, we've set up various affiliate links on our webpage at thehockeynuts.com. The affiliate links allow you to help financially support our podcast without costing you any more money out of pocket. Some of the affiliate relationships we have are with Amazon, hockeymonkey.com, Ting.com. If you use any of these services, we'd greatly appreciate it if you use our affiliate links to those sites. Simply go to thehockeynuts.com and click on the appropriate advertising banner on the right. Your purchase will not cost you anything extra, and a small portion of your purchase will come back to help support the show. And we thank you very much. Now, back to the show.
So let's head back into the news stories, shall we?
Yes.
We've got to talk about, first and foremost, let's get out of the way the last game in round 2 that we did not get to talk about last week because we recorded right before the start of that game. And that was Game 7, Predators and Jets. And that game was in Nashville.
Yep.
And I had a feeling that the Jets would come out and win this game. I was hoping that Nashville would win it, although, wasn't really torn one way or the other. Because either way, I wanted to see one of these two teams succeed well. And unfortunately, where they faced each other in the second round, only one could advance. So it's a shame. Right. These two teams should have been the conference final as far as I'm concerned. But Winnipeg came out, and it really never was much of a game.
Yeah, Wayne, I'm on the other side of the fence on this one. Yeah. I didn't think Winnipeg had a snowball's chance in hell of winning this game. I really didn't. At first I did, and then I realized, wait a minute, this is Game 7 in Nashville. No, they're not going to win. Although they had a great season, I think Nashville's going to take them. But I was shocked. I really was. I don't think Pekka Rinne played that game. I mean, the Vezina decision has already been made. Yeah. But I don't think he played a good game.
Well, he got yanked. So that should tell you something.
Yeah.
And the two goals that he let in were pretty soft.
Yeah. So yeah. I just he might win the Vezina and all that good stuff, but he didn't impress me at all as a goalie who was eye on the prize in that game. In other words, somebody who was looking at this as, this was actually a Stanley Cup Finals game that his team had to have. I mean, it was money time, and he was going to step forward on a national stage and show why not only was he a finalist for the Vezina, but why the Nashville Predators were odds-on favorites, why they were the President's Trophy champions, and why they were odds-on favorites to win the Stanley Cup. That just didn't happen. Yep. I was really surprised at the outcome of this game. So.
Yeah, and the thing with Rinne too, that brings up a concern for the Nashville Predators going forward, because he showed he was human earlier in this year's playoffs. He had some struggles in the first round, and then here in the second round he was looking pretty good up until this game.
Right, and
he let in those two goals that I would say were relatively soft goals. He had that one that kind of squeaked in against the post. That he didn't have the post sealed tight on that one.
Right.
And then he had that other goal that he let in, and then they pulled him after that, which as quickly as they pulled him, that just shows that Laviolette's wasn't very confident in his ability, because he pulled him pretty quick, 2-0.
Right. Right. That's a good point, Wayne. And behind the scenes, you don't know. Maybe he was hurt. Maybe there was something there to that. Maybe it was just that Laviolette knew he had to have Game 7, and he wasn't going to let it bleed. He wasn't going to let his team bleed anymore.
Yep.
To stop the bleeding and put somebody in there. You don't know. But as I said, I was surprised. He seemed tentative. He seemed shell-shocked in net, especially after that first goal.
And like the moment was bigger than,
than what he could.
Than he could handle.
I couldn't have said it any better.
Yep.
That's exactly right, Wayne.
Yep.
That's what I thought.
And he showed some of that last year too in the Stanley Cup final. Look what happened in the final.
Yep.
He struggled last year against Pittsburgh. Granted, Pittsburgh's a great team. Winnipeg's a great team. So these are good teams that he was playing against. But he showed for all the regular season, each of the last 2 years, lights out during the regular season.
Yep.
Very well in the early rounds of the playoffs. And then when he was faced a really strong team, really tough team, and a really big moment, he kind of crumbled. So that's the concern.
It's as if I'm going to blend in another sport here. It's as if he was the quarterback in the NFC Championship game, and he received an audible, but it wasn't from Nashville, it was from Winnipeg, and he just couldn't deal with that.
Yep.
He couldn't, you know what I'm telling you?
Yep.
And that was it, man. He just wasn't going to win. He wasn't going to be the guy in that game. And Laviolette's, hats off to him. He's a great coach. He probably saw right through that. He probably realized it. And they had to make changes.
Yep. So they went to Saros there in the halfway through the first period.
Yep.
But Saros ultimately didn't do a whole lot better. Winnipeg took the crowd out of the game right there with those first two goals early, and the crowd never really got back into it. I mean, about the best they did was when Nashville made it 2-1. That got the crowd back into it again. But as soon as Winnipeg scored to make it 3-1, that was it. That was it. That was
Yep.
the end of the Nashville crowd. You didn't hear from them the rest of the night. They pretty
That's
much
right.
sat on their hands the rest of the night. So yeah, Winnipeg comes away with the huge Game 7 win, which is huge for them because anytime you get experience with a Game 7 and, it comes out as a win for you, that's incredible for your confidence going forward.
Right.
So that makes Winnipeg that much more of a dangerous team. So Winnipeg moves on to the next round.
Yep.
Which means we are now in the conference final, and that sets up Winnipeg versus Vegas, of all teams, in the Western Conference final, and Tampa Bay versus Washington in the Eastern Conference.
Yep.
So let's talk about what's happened so far in the Tampa Bay-Washington series.
Yes.
We've completed 3 games. First game went to Washington 4-2, and that game was in Tampa Bay. Game 2, also in Tampa Bay, went to Washington 6-2. And then Game 3 was in Washington, and Tampa Bay won that one 4-2. So Tampa Bay finally woke up after losing the first 2 games at home.
Right.
They got really, Washington pretty much owned them those first 2 games.
I agree.
And Tampa Bay finally woke up in the third game. Vasilevsky played very well in the third game. And Tampa Bay came away with a complete win to get themselves back in this series. But they're not out of the woods yet. They're down 2-1, and they got 2 more games in Washington that they're going to have to. They're going to have to win at least one of those.
Yep. I look at it this way, and I've been very impressed with the Washington Capitals. Even in the game they lost, they did not roll over and play dead, Wayne.
Nope.
They played very well in that game as well. But Vasilevsky is a great goaltender.
Yep.
He's really proved he may be the Vezina winner this year. But I'm going to tell it to you as I see it. Washington wins this game tonight at home, and I think it's over. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to beat Washington 3 games in a row. I could be wrong. We're talking about a team that does choke, but I don't know that they choke against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I guess we'll see tonight. But it's a powerful game that's coming on tonight. I mean, this is something where Ovechkin has to step forward, and these big marquee players that Washington has. This is the game they've been waiting for, to prove to their fans and to the NHL community that they're a team that can win the Stanley Cup, and they really have been for years. This is the game right here to seize and show people.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
And this game 4 has always seemed to be huge games in series anyway, because you win, you're up 3-1, and you're going back to Tampa Bay with a 3-1 series lead. You lose, you're going back to Tampa Bay 2-2, and Tampa Bay now has home ice advantage again, because 2 of the last 3 games in the series are in Tampa.
Right.
This game tonight, I know I'll be watching, is going to be huge. For both teams.
For both teams.
And ultimately, like you said, I feel that the winner of this game tonight is going to win the series. I think that's how important this game is.
I agree with you. That's another good point. Tampa Bay wins tonight. Ultimately, I think they're going to take it. I think they'll have come all the way back from that hole they dug.
Yep.
And they are going to they might even win it in four straight. But they're going to take this series.
Yep.
But the phone booth is a very tough place to win in the playoffs. Come playoff time, it's not easy to win on Washington's home ice. And so Tampa Bay is going to have their work cut out for them tonight. I look for a big game from Braden Holtby, actually. I think he's been impressive in this playoffs.
Yeah, and the big unknown for Washington is whether or not Nick Backstrom comes back. They desperately need him to come back because he's a big part of their offense. They've been able to survive so far without him, but it's going to be tough to knock off the Lightning without arguably their second best player.
Right, one of the best playmakers in the NHL too.
Yep. So he did skate today. Not a full. They're saying that he rotated in during line rushes. So he is still considered day to day, and he's a game time decision for tonight's game. So we'll see whether or not he plays. But either way, it's going to be a big game. I can't wait.
Yeah, this will be. This is prime time right now.
Yep.
This is a prime time game for sure.
So we'll see. And Washington needs to shut down that Tampa Bay two-headed monster power play that they've got, basically the Tampa Bay power play is I mean, everybody knows what they're going to do, but the players are so good, they still can't stop them. You know you're going to have Stamkos at the top of one circle. You're going to have Kucherov at the top of the other circle.
Yeah.
And those two are just going to, basically create a triangle with the guy back on the point, back on at the blue line. And they're just going to pass the puck around that triangle and try to get a one-timer, a good, clean one-timer at the net. And, I mean, it's deadly. They've been killing teams all year with that.
Right. Agreed.
And Washington does the same thing with Ovechkin, too, and Kuznetsov.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that everybody knows the way they're setting up what's happening. Everybody knows, but they're unable to stop it because it's so deadly.
The timing is perfect.
Yep. So it should be it'll be a fun game. So all right, let's move on to the other series. Let's go out west, and that one has also completed 3 games. I actually missed last night's game because I had to work super early this morning. I had schedule similar to yours.
Oh, no.
So I wasn't able to stay up and watch that game. It didn't even start till 9 o'clock. So I stayed up long enough to watch. Let's see. I watched the pregame show, which we'll get into. And then I watched maybe 10 minutes of the first period before I went to bed last night. But where we stand in this series, Winnipeg won game 1, 4-2. Vegas came back and tied the series in the second game, 3-1. And then game 3, Vegas won that one. That was the first game at home in Vegas, and that was a 4-2 score. Of course, that game, by all accounts that I saw this morning, that game was incredibly close all game long. Ended up being, it's essentially a 3-2 game because that fourth goal was an empty netter.
Mm-hmm.
And and I saw the highlights of it. Essentially, game 3 was the Marc-Andre Fleury show. He just put on a show, especially in the third period. Yep. Made some tremendous saves, and everybody says that you need to have a goalie that will steal a game or two in a series in order to win a series. Well, game 3 was Marc-Andre Fleury's steal of the series because by most accounts, Winnipeg outplayed Vegas for most of the game, but Vegas ended up winning because of how strong Marc-Andre Fleury was in that game. So. Right. But what about that opening ceremony? Did you catch any of that?
I didn't, Wayne. Last night was a night where a lot of things went on, and I did not get a chance to watch the opening ceremony or the game last night, and I could kill myself. I saw the stories about the plane. And I saw the Golden Knight on the ice with the helmet and everything. I briefly read a little bit of the story, but no, I didn't see any of that. So yeah. I'm anxious to hear what you have to say.
Well, they essentially projected they projected a runway on the ice. This is how they did it because basically what they've been doing all through the playoffs is they have the opponent, whatever the opponent is for their first round. Like for the first round, they had a king come out. And the Golden Knight defeated the King in a sword fight at center ice, right? Second round, they did, what did they do? Remind me. I can't remember.
They had the Sharks.
That's right, the Sharks.
They were on the ice.
They projected, that's right, they projected the water on the ice, and then you saw the shadow of the Shark swimming just underneath the surface of the water. And then they had a guy come out in a shark suit, and the Golden Knight, of course, defeated the Shark. Well, this time they projected a runway on the ice, and they had a guy come out dressed, I guess, as a Jet, and they did the sword fight a little bit, and then the Jet decided to take off. Well, the Jet's guy was attached to a harness, so he got yanked up into the ceiling and disappeared into the rafters. And then you see an actual projected jet come out onto the runway. And then the jet turns on its afterburners and it takes off. And the Golden Knight character basically sliced the jet in half. And you see the 2 pieces of the jet go and explode against the boards at the far end. So it's pretty neat. And, of course, you and I had talked when we met yesterday. You and I had talked about my idea of what they should have done with the Golden Knight. And basically my idea was take a drone, a good size, pretty good, not a little drone, but a drone big enough that the fans could easily see it, and dress it up so it looks like a jet. Obviously, you can't have a remote control plane flying around in the building because that would, it'd have to fly around too fast and, be too hard to control in a confined space like that. But a drone, they could pull off.
Right.
And you just dress up a drone to look like a jet, and you have the drone fly towards the guy with the sword in that center ice, and have that guy just literally knock that jet out of the air with his sword, and have it go crashing down onto the ice and break into a million pieces. I think that would have gotten the fans really excited. But the way they did it was pretty good too.
Or they could have like a Hindenburg where the drone, has some sort of a gas explosion takes place or something. I don't know. Yeah. But anyways, we spent a good bit of lunch yesterday talking about and laughing pretty hard at what the Golden Knights could do.
But yeah, they're putting on a show before each game. So it's so much so that even NBC is televising the pregame, which is something they've never done in the past, but they've been doing this time. So anyway, but as for the game, Marc-Andre Fleury was lights out in the third period. Vegas takes the 2-1 lead. So now Game 4 is coming up tomorrow night in Vegas. And Vegas can take command of this series. If they win this game tomorrow night, it's over.
I agree with you, even more strongly than the other series, although I still say if Washington wins tonight, they're going to win this series. But I think if Vegas wins tonight, it really is the death knell for the Winnipeg Jets, because they will not beat Vegas 3 games in a row.
No.
I'd almost go out to Vegas and put money on it at Caesar's Palace.
Yep. I actually think Vegas is ultimately going to win this series. The other series, I got no idea who's going to win. I would just say winner of tonight's game, Game 4, in the East, is going to win the series, whoever that is. Right. Other than that, I've got no clue. This one, I think Vegas is ultimately going to win this series, and they're going to go to the Stanley Cup Final, which is going to...
That's unbelievable.
It's going to blow everybody away. Because, we've talked about it all year. What if Vegas wins the Cup?
Yeah.
What kind of story that would be?
The sports world is going to... The whole sports world, you're going to see Sports Illustrated and USA Today and all these guys. If Vegas makes it to the Stanley Cup Finals, they're going to follow this. The Stanley Cup Finals will be a very, very hotly televised and watched event, because people will be seeing something that it's never happened. It's never even come close. So
I think for NBC and the ratings in the U.S., obviously they're clearly going to be on Vegas' side in this series, because Winnipeg is just not going to draw that big of a TV audience here in the States. In Canada, it's going to be in every household in the country. I guarantee it. Yeah. If Winnipeg advances to the Stanley Cup Final, because they've been 19.
The whole country of Canada will be pulling for the Winnipeg Jets, in addition to whatever fans they have here in the United States. But the entire country of Canada is going to be pulling for them.
Yeah, Canada hasn't seen a Stanley Cup champion since the Montreal Canadiens in 1993. So only the most diehard fans of other Canadian teams are going to be rooting against the Winnipeg Jets. All the casual fans, all the fans that don't have a strong allegiance to any one team, they're going to be rooting for the Canadian team to make it, because it's been so long since a Canadian team has won. So, so it looks like... But I think right now, Vegas is in control of this series, as far as I'm concerned. Right. With the way Marc-Andre Fleury is playing and the energy that the rest of the team is playing with, I think it's over already. But
I agree.
But we'll see. Game 4 is that swing game. It can go, if Winnipeg comes out and win that one, they take the momentum back and
have home ice advantage again.
They do stand a chance, but... Vegas has shown in the past that they're almost unbeatable in their building, and they don't seem to have a problem winning in other teams' buildings. So, for Winnipeg, they got their hands full. We'll put it that way. Okay, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of these games?
No, I'm looking forward to this week, though, with the hockey winding down. This is going to be fun to watch.
Yep, it's certainly entertaining. Neither one of us have a dog in the fight, so that's always more fun to enjoy the games, rather than watch them while biting your nails. So
that's right.
So, all right, so let's move on to some of the stories that we've had this coming week, or this past week. First and foremost, transactions. We've had one player signing, Mark Barberio. signed a 2-year contract with the Colorado Avalanche on Tuesday. NHL.com did not disclose the terms of the contract, but I looked it up on Cap Friendly, and they are saying it's a 2-year deal worth a total of $2.9 million, so $1.45 per year. And he was making $750,000 before now. So a depth player, obviously, for Colorado, but it looks like he'll be on the NHL roster for at least the next 2 years. Anyway, he's 28 years old. He could have been an unrestricted free agent on July 1st. And he had 13 points this past season, despite missing 36 games. He's a defenseman. I don't know if I mentioned that. Yep. Averaged 22 minutes, 18 seconds of ice time, and was a regular on Colorado's top 6 defensemen. So they've signed him on to stay for at least 2 more years. Mm-hmm. And here's an interesting one, and I know it's going to be big in Canada. Or they've been talking about it all along. Kyle Dubas was named general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs on Friday, replacing Lou Lamoriello, who left the position on April 30th to shift into role as senior advisor. Dubas, who's 32, becomes the second youngest GM in the NHL. Arizona Coyotes GM John Chayka is 28. Dubas was assistant GM since being hired by Toronto on July 22nd, 2014. How about that? A young 32-year-old kid taking over the richest NHL team in the NHL.
Yeah, it smells of I don't know. Who do you think's got their fingers on this one?
I don't know. I'd like to know who his connections were to get an assistant GM job with the Leafs at such a young age.
Yeah.
He's obviously not a former player.
Well, Brendan Shanahan had to have some sort of hand in this.
Well, he is the president, so he would probably. But I don't know much about Dubas, but I guess I got to listen to Steve Dangle's podcast a little bit more often because I know he's been talking about this. I just don't know much about him, but clearly the Leafs feel they've got a good one there in him by signing him such a young age,
right,
to run basically, arguably the team, the number one team, the New York Yankees of the NHL per se, or as the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL. The Toronto Maple Leafs are the premier organization in the NHL, the team with the biggest fan base, the team with the most money.
Yeah,
the richest endorsement deals. You name it. Toronto it's the center of the hockey universe.
I agree.
It's the city of Toronto, and to put him in charge of that team, boy, talk about pressure.
Yeah, that's big time pressure for a 32-year-old guy to be calling the shots, man, on a team like that. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so we'll be watching that story closely to see how things go, but. Lou Lamoriello is still involved with the team, and it's probably is going to be on speed dial on Dubas' phone as a senior advisor. I know Dubas is, even since being named, has already confided in Lamoriello a lot. This article, there's a link to it in the show notes. They stated that Dubas has been in regular talks with Lamoriello even since Lamoriello has left. So. But yeah, those are big. That's a big job right there.
Oh yeah,
that he's taking on. So should be interesting to see what happens going forward. Hopefully, he won't turn around and trade Austin Matthews because that wouldn't be a good way to start.
Very, very true, and I don't think they will either.
There's no chance that they're going to do that. No.
Yeah.
All right, so that's all the transactions I saw this week.
That's it.
Been a pretty quiet week. Most teams. There's a lot of rumors flying around. Speaking of transactions, I saw some rumors flying around that Carolina Hurricanes are taking offers on Jeff Skinner and Justin Falk. The new GM Don Waddell has admitted publicly that he has taken phone calls and has discussed those two players in particular. So the fact that he's admitting that tells me that by the time we get to October, those two guys are going to be gone.
You think so?
I think so. If he's openly shopping them around like that and has admitted to it, there's going to be a deal made with those.
There could be a trade in the works, Wayne.
Yeah, it'll be a trade. Yeah,
I think you got John Tavares,
yep,
who's still not signed with the Islanders. Now a lot of times stuff doesn't go on till the end of the year.
Yep.
But the Islanders are out of the playoffs.
Yep.
They could do a deal with John Tavares at any time. Not sure why that's dragging on.
Yep.
Maybe that's all, you know.
Well, maybe John Tavares has decided he's definitely leaving the Islanders. That's probably why.
Yeah. Don't know why he'd come to Carolina, but you know, stranger things have happened. I don't know. Maybe you just don't know. Somebody like him, it could be another deal going on. You know.
Yeah, and I don't see Skinner and Falk going to the same team or being part of the same deal, unless it's a mega deal like Falk and Skinner to Montreal for Carey Price. You know that, because I know the article that mentioned this rumor has also mentioned that Carolina is openly shopping for a starting goaltender. So they've decided that it looks like Cam Ward's days are done here in Carolina because his contract is up. They still got to have Scott Darling, but they're going to push him down to a backup role. And they're openly shopping around for a starting goaltender. A true starting goaltender, not a current backup that they think might be a okay starting goaltender. They did that last year and it backfired. So I think you're going to see a blockbuster deal with the Hurricanes this summer, and it probably will include either Skinner or Falk or both. Noah Hannafin's name has come up. I know Boston fan boards are talking about possibly getting Noah Hannafin into Boston, but what Boston would give up for him, I don't know.
Right.
So you've got
well, it won't be Malcolm Subban.
Yeah, a guy like Noah Hannafin, it would have to include somebody good.
Yeah.
And if Carolina's looking for goalie, throwing it out there, and I know he has a no trade clause, but Tuukka Rask for Noah Hannafin with some other pieces mixed in there.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. But I think Rask would have to approve that trade because I think he has a no trade clause. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure he does. That's just it's not a rumor that I've read or seen or anything, but this is the type of blockbuster that I think you're going to see the Carolina Hurricanes pull off. They're going to trade a major piece that they have now, whether it be Hannafin, Skinner, Falk, or a combination of any of them, to try to get a bona fide, proven number one goaltender into this team. So, again, we've said it before, it's going to be interesting what Carolina does in the offseason. Dundon has already said that basically everybody on the team is available with the exception of Sebastian Aho. That's the one player that he doesn't want to give up.
Right.
Everybody else is expendable as far as he's concerned. So it's going to be an interesting summer here in Carolina. There was a couple other rumors that I saw too. I can't remember them now off the top of my head. I don't like to talk much about rumors because you never know what's going to happen.
They're talking about Tavares, Wayne, that nothing has happened.
Yeah.
And that is definitely one of the things that you read about in NHL kick it back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to stay. So, but that's just an opinion, and that's about all it's worth.
Yeah. And I think Tavares ultimately is gone too, but where he goes, I don't know. Toronto fans seem to think they got an in for him because he's a Canadian kid, and what Canadian kid wouldn't want to play for the Leafs, right? But there ain't no way they can afford him under the cap.
Yeah, here's the thing, okay, Wayne. I'm just going to throw it out there. If he wants to stay in New York, then there's the reason for New York letting go of everybody. The Rangers.
Yeah, they've cleared a lot of space,
a lot of cap room, and there's the reason.
Yep.
They wanted Tavares, and this deal's been discussed way on down the line. Okay. But I don't know on something like that. I'm definitely not getting that feeling, reading the between the tea leaves, going on the Rangers website. You don't hear any talk about that, okay? But
things are quiet coming out of New York altogether right now.
Yeah, but that could be something like that. Could be what's happening. With this one coming down the pike. And then next year, come July 1st, if Erik Karlsson hasn't signed, I'm going to tell you that's going to be a major trade.
Yep.
Unless he's injured, that's going to be a major trade.
Yep, that would be a major trade.
Yeah.
Especially for an unsigned, they'd be giving up an awful lot for an unsigned Tavares, unless they knew that they were going to get him signed for sure. So, I don't know. So, a lot of rumors coming out of Carolina in particular, and then everybody's wondering what Tavares is going to do. All right, some of the other things we've got going on this week. Suspensions. Well, first and foremost, we've already talked about Nick Backstrom and his injury, so we don't really need to talk more about that. That was the only injury that I wanted to really discuss tonight. There's a bunch of other guys that are bumps and bruises day to day here and there.
Right.
But every team's got a handful of those guys.
That's right.
Of all the teams that are left. So there's really nothing else to discuss. Nick Backstrom is the big story in terms of injuries. So
agreed. It's the only pertinent injury in either of the two series remaining.
Yeah. So let's talk about suspensions and fines then. Capitals defenseman Michael Kempny was fined $2,419. The maximum allowable under the collective bargaining agreement for cross-checking Tampa Bay forward Cedric Paquette during Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Final in Tampa on Sunday, May 13th. They announced that on the 14th. The incident occurred at 6:55 of the third period. Kempny was assessed a minor penalty for cross-checking. And that was basically, I saw the play, he just basically right in front of the net, right to the neck.
Yep.
Right to the neck of Paquette. So he deserved, definitely deserved something for that. So that was the only suspension or fine that actually took place. There's been a number of others that have been in discussion where, plays where should this be finable or suspendable, should this not? But the NHL hasn't declared anything else other than this one has qualified for supplemental discipline.
Mm-hmm.
All right, some of the other interesting stories we've got going on this week. The Memorial Cup is happening starting this Friday. And for those of you not familiar, the Memorial Cup is essentially a 4-team tournament that takes place after all the individual. This is the Canadian Hockey League, which is the highest level junior hockey in Canada and arguably the world. And there are 4 teams left. And the way the Memorial Cup works is there's they announced about a year or so in advance, they announced the host. Their team automatically is in the 4-team Memorial Cup tournament. And then, of course, the host changes every year. And then they take the other 3 teams are the 3 champions from the Ontario Hockey League, the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, and the Western Hockey League.
Mm-hmm.
So this year's 4-team tournament is Regina of the Western Hockey League. They're the hosts. The Quebec Major Hockey League champion is Acadie Bathurst. Western Hockey League champion is Swift Current. And Ontario Hockey League champion Hamilton.
Right.
So those 4 teams will be playing for the Memorial Cup, which is essentially Canada's national championship for junior hockey, so the 16 to 20-year-old age bracket. And this league, the Canadian Hockey League, and this tournament is filled with NHL prospects, loaded with NHL prospects.
Right.
And the NHL Network usually picks up a couple of the games throughout this tournament. Usually they get the championship game for sure. Because basically what they do is they play a round robin tournament, and then they have a semifinal and a final. So, but yeah, they have number of NHL prospects taking place in this tournament, and it's good. Should be fun to watch. Yeah, I'm looking at the TV schedule right now. NHL Network is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 9 games in this 4-team tournament, including the semifinal and final, which will take place on May 25th and May 27th of this year. So, some extra hockey for all of us.
Important hockey too.
Yep.
Especially if you live in Canada.
Yep. Yeah. Canadian hockey fans follow this tournament as close, if not even closer, than the NHL tournament because it's huge. It's definitely huge. All right, so that was that story. The next story I have is a bit of a sad one, although it sounds like everybody knew it was coming. Claire Drake, the winningest coach in Canadian college hockey history and member of the Hockey Hall of Fame, died on Sunday. He was 89 years old. Claire Drake is a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. He was just inducted in November. We had talked about him a few podcasts ago. He was a heavy influencer on a lot of NHL coaches today. I know Mike Babcock was one of his proteges going back years, but Ken Hitchcock, I believe, also was a protege of his. So, he very influential, was involved, basically coached Canadian college hockey, but he was also very involved in the coaching community, very instrumental in developing the game to the way it is today. And for that, he was inducted as a Hockey Hall of Fame, into the Hockey Hall of Fame back in November. So unfortunately, he did pass away this week. All right. And I saw a story this week that the Humboldt Broncos are going to be, have announced that they will definitely be fielding a team next year in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League.
Yeah.
And of course, the Humboldt Broncos, if you remember back on April 6th, 16 people were killed in a bus accident and 13 were injured when their team bus collided with a truck. And, we followed that story pretty closely. We've talked a lot about the story. So we all know exactly, everybody, if you're a fan of hockey, the Humboldt Broncos story. So it was good to see that they decided to go ahead and put together a team for next year.
Right.
They're going to have an invitation-only tryout camp for 80 players from May 25th to May 27th in Saskatoon. And the camp is going to be closed to the public and the media, so they don't want the media circus there. If they opened that to the media, it would have been an absolute circus.
Absolutely. I think, Wayne, there will be a lot of. I think what you're going to find is that not only will what's happened strengthen the community, but you'll have a team come out of this that is going to be really, really watched. They'll be in the news frequently, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. And there'll be a lot of people pulling for them. A lot of people are going to give them some support, their support.
Yep,
absolutely. At all levels of the hockey community, I think.
Absolutely. So, and from what it sounds like, a number of those players that did survive the wreck, their injuries are going to prevent them from being able to play next season. It looks like it's going to be a whole new team, just because the guys that did survive, some of them were so critically injured that their hockey playing days, at least at that level, are pretty much over for most of those players. So that's unfortunate, but hopefully they're by the time the fall comes around, that there may be a few of those players that can come back and play, but who knows? I guess we'll be following that story for sure to see what comes out of that story. But it is good news to see that the Humboldt Broncos will be back in the fall of this year. All right, and did you see this week they put NHL.com did an article that remember Milan Hajduk, key players?
Yes, remember Milan Hajduk.
Yep, key player of the Colorado Avalanche Stanley Cup teams that they had in the 90s. Well, he put his house up for sale, and it is listed for $5.2 million. It's located in Parker, Colorado, suburb of Denver. And if you've got $5.2 million laying around, you can get yourself a really nice house with your very own indoor hockey rink and Zamboni.
Yeah, that is really something.
And he recently put his house on the market. Comes with the rink and the Zamboni. It's a 16,000 square foot home, which sits on a 2.25 acre lot. It has 6 bedrooms, 4.5 baths, 3 laundry rooms, 7 fireplaces, and a 5-car garage to go with the hockey rink.
Unbelievable.
Hajduk, who's number 23, was retired by the Avalanche on January 6th, told the Denver Post that he, his wife, and twin 14-year-old sons, Merrick and David, intend to stay in Colorado, but the Hayduks are hoping to move closer to the rink where Milan coaches Merrick and David's 14 and under team, and with the real estate market booming, the time was right to list the property. He said, we're just trying to take advantage of the market here, he told. So he's basically downsizing.
Yeah.
So should be interesting to see who ends up with that rink. I wonder if it would be one of the Avalanche's players, because I looked at the listing. It has a full-size training gym that obviously Milan used to keep himself in shape during the off season too. So it's quite a piece of property that they've got there.
Unbelievable.
I would love to have that house. If I win Powerball this week, we're going to move to Colorado. I'll buy his house.
Yeah.
So I could skate every day. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And I don't even have to learn how to drive the Zamboni. I already know how to drive one. So, yeah, I thought that was an interesting story this week. All right, let's move on to honors and milestones. Kevin Cheveldayoff for the Winnipeg Jets, George McPhee of the Vegas Golden Knights, and Steve Yzerman of the Tampa Bay Lightning are the finalists for NHL General Manager of the Year. I think this one is a foregone conclusion. I can't imagine. I can't imagine anybody but McPhee is gonna win that one.
McPhee and Gerard Gallant. I think they are locks for the Jack Adams and for the General Manager of the Year.
Yep. So yeah, would agree. All right. Well, Mike Fisher of the Nashville Predators retired again from the NHL after 18 seasons, at least until January of next year when he decides to come back and join the Predators for their next Stanley Cup run.
Yeah, something tells me that won't happen this time.
You don't think it'll happen this time, huh?
No, I think that's it for Mike Fisher. I think he came back. Maybe he added some things to the Predators and their lineup and their playoff persona. But ultimately, Nashville did not play as well as they did last year, and I just think he's 1 year older, and I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, fair enough. So we're now at our power rankings, and is it my turn?
It is your turn this week.
It is my turn. All right.
Yep.
So with that in mind, I've got my power rankings. Actually, I haven't done them, but I'll do them right off the top of my head. We're down to 4 teams, so it's not that difficult.
Right.
Right now, I've got Vegas as the number 1 team, Washington number 2, Tampa Bay number 3, Winnipeg number 4. That's my top 4 right now.
Okay. It's hard to argue with that, because there's only 4 teams.
Yep.
But you could certainly make a case that Vegas, once again, is playing the best hockey in the NHL. I liked Winnipeg and how they started out, but they're in trouble now. They got to win this next game. They got to win.
Yep,
so
for sure. All right, so we're down to our minor league hockey minute then, and I'm going to continue with the ones that I've been doing up till now, and that's talking about the international tournament and the AHL playoffs. Okay. You want to talk a little bit about the AHL playoffs, or one particular event in the AHL playoffs.
That's correct.
And so why don't we go ahead and get yours out of the way, and then I'll talk about the rest of the league, and then we'll do the international tournament.
Okay, very good, Wayne. This actually is about a week old. I mean, this is an old story. But
I think it happened the night after we recorded. Yeah, right after we recorded.
Right.
Yep.
It's actually over a week old.
Yep.
But this is really an amazing story if you really think about this. Truly an amazing story. And it wouldn't, but the fact is it happened in the building that you and I went to a couple times this year and watched a couple games, and that's down there at the Bojangles Coliseum in Charlotte. What I'm talking about and what this article I have is on is the longest game was played last week in AHL history at the Bojangles Coliseum in Charlotte. And, I mean, they were all over us to get tickets. I mean, if you think about it, the AHL is not a fly-by-night league like some other major professional, farm leagues, if you will, or prep leagues, whatever you want to say. The AHL is 82 years old. They've been around a long time. My article is entitled "The Checkers Fall in the Longest Game in AHL History." The game was the normal 60 minutes plus 86 minutes and 48 seconds of overtime. It was decided in the 5th overtime, and I wanted to tell you about it. The longest game in AHL history unfolded at Bojangles Coliseum Wednesday night into Thursday morning. But the Checkers came out on the wrong side of the 2-1 final in quintuple overtime. I hope I said that right.
Yep.
Quintuple overtime. A 1-1 deadlock pushed past regulation and beyond until nearly 7 minutes into the 5th overtime, when Alex Krushelnyski, that's a familiar name, found the back of the net on the Phantoms' 53rd shot of the night. Prior to that, the Checkers had dominated much of the offensive play, firing 95 shots at Lehigh Valley netminder Alex Leon, which we have seen Alex Leon play, and he's played for Philadelphia this year, the NHL in the Bigs.
Yep, he did. And
outshooting the Phantoms 54-29 in the overtime periods alone. After Danick Martel put the Phantoms ahead in the first, It was Patrick Brown who answered for Charlotte in the middle frame, launching a shot from an angle that beat Leon on his short side. The loss puts Charlotte's season on the brink as the Phantoms now hold a 3-1 edge in the Atlantic Division Finals. And of course, that next game, the series was decided. It was a 5-1 victory by the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and they've moved on and are now in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Toronto Marlies. I've got some quotes here I wanted to read. Coach Mike Vellucci on the game. That was pretty crazy, right? We outshot them 2-1 and outchanced them 2-1. So what are you going to do? You give it all you've got, and their goalie played absolutely unbelievable. And Ned played really well for us. And he's talking about Alex Nedeljkovic. Guys were gassed. You saw it. It was pretty crazy. I don't even know how many overtimes we went. They gave it all they had, so that's all you can ask. And again, Vellucci on fatigue as the game went on. It's just survival of the fittest, I guess. We talk about why you work so hard all year long and all summer long just to be in the best shape you can be in to play these kinds of games. And he also made some comments on Alex Nedeljkovic and his play. Everybody wrote him off last year like he wasn't a good goalie as a rookie, but he's proven everyone wrong again this year. He's a heck of a goaltender and a heck of a prospect, and he played outstanding for us tonight. Now, you know, we've talked about the Hurricanes going after goaltending with the possible trade on this podcast.
Yep.
There's a guy down there in Charlotte, and we've seen him play 2 games. He has played lights out hockey the 2 times we've seen him, but he's really might be the sole reason the Checkers made it to the playoffs. He's a great goalie, and I'm not understanding of why he's not getting more of a shot in Raleigh. But there's an off season's coming up, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I've said it before in the podcast too that I felt that they should at least give him a shot anyway.
Right.
But
agreed.
They would know better than us what the details are there, and maybe they don't feel he's quite ready. He needs another year or so.
Right.
But yeah, he's played very well for them this year.
Let me continue on. Mike Vellucci, the coach of the Checkers, had some more comments. The last of which was on Alex Leon, the Lehigh Valley Phantoms goalie. I don't know. He's in the zone, and we've just got to get more traffic in front of him. He made some incredible saves where everybody on the bench had their arms up. That's hockey. A goalie gets hot one night, so we've just got to find a way to get that tough one on him. And then finally, Alex Nedeljkovic on losing this game. It's hard, but that's playoff hockey. You're going to have some of those games that seem like they never end. You think it could come down to a funny bounce and a break one way or the other. And I guess we kind of broke down in the D zone where and they found the open guy. It's a tough pill to swallow, but we've got to move on. And some interesting notes on this game, Wayne. Prior to this game, the longest game in AHL history was on April 24th, 2008. A full 60-minute game plus 82 minutes and 58 seconds of overtime. So just short of breaking. These guys just barely passed the longest game last week when they played in Charlotte. Just barely by just a few minutes. And the interesting thing about it was, like this game, the Philadelphia Flyers affiliate defeated the Carolina Hurricanes affiliate. And back then, the Charlotte Checkers did not exist, as you'll remember.
Yep.
The Charlotte Checkers were the Albany River Rats, actually. That's the team that moved to Charlotte.
Yep.
And that's the team that was in the longest game prior to this.
Oh, wow.
Alex Leon's 94 saves were just short of the league record of 98 saves set by former Checkers goaltender Michael Layton in that 2008 game that I just spoke about. The game ended at 1:09 a.m. local time. Now, that's one heck of a long game. And I'm telling you, I don't know if I would have stayed for the whole thing. I guess maybe I would have if I put my money down for it. But
well, it depends if we had to work the next day. To leave Charlotte at 1 a.m. and then have to drive home.
Yeah.
That would have been, that
You'd
would have
had
been
the day off.
Yeah. That
Or
would have been a very short night.
I might as well just drive right straight on into work. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's really something. A 5 overtime game lasting, really, they played 2 games plus an overtime period.
Yep. They must have been some kind of tired at the end of that one.
Yep.
So, yeah, it an interesting game indeed. And yes, they were hounding us to get tickets for the Charlotte Checkers home games. We're on their mailing list, so we're getting messages and emails and everything else trying to get us to buy tickets. And hey, if we lived right in Charlotte, there's a good chance we would have been at that game. But you're at least 90 minutes away, and I'm a good 2 hours away, so it's a bit of a drive. So usually the only time I go down to a Checkers game is if I'm either off that day or off the next day or something of that effect. To go to work and then go to Checkers game and then go to work the next day just doesn't happen. I'm just slightly too far away for that.
Right.
So, all right. So with that was, and in fact, that was the elimination game, was it not?
No, the next night, they played 3 in a row in Charlotte, and actually Charlotte did not win a game on their home ice.
Okay.
They split the games in Lehigh Valley, then came back to Charlotte for 3 games, and Lehigh Valley won all 3 of them. The next game was the deciding game, which Lehigh Valley won 5-1. And something tells me that Charlotte had their emotions kind of just run out.
A game like that, you lose a 5 overtime game, and that's a backbreaker at any level. Those are hard to come back from.
Right.
So, but Lehigh Valley ultimately wins that series 4-1. And of course, in the AHL, to save on travel costs, they use a 2-3-2 format as opposed to the 2-2-1-1-1 that the NHL uses. So that way, there's only if the series goes 7 games, there's only 2 trips between the cities, as opposed to you got as many as 4, 5, 5 trips. So so they use that other format to cut down on travel costs because the minor league levels travel budgets are much tighter than they are in the NHL. So and with that in mind, let's take a look at the rest of the series that happened around the AHL. Of course, Lehigh Valley won their series with the Checkers 4-1. The other series in the East was Toronto Marlies and Syracuse Crunch. That was a 4-game sweep for Toronto Marlies.
Yeah.
So they move on to the next round. Manitoba Moose and Rockford Ice Hogs are one of the Western Conference matchups, and that was a 4-game sweep for the Rockford Ice Hogs. Mm-hmm. And then the last series in the second round was the Texas Stars defeating the Tucson Roadrunners 4-1. So all 4 series actually ended in 5 games or less. So they were quick. So they are now going on to the conference final, the conference final, which in the East you have the Toronto Marlies against the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and in the West you have the Texas Stars against the Rockford Ice Hogs. And one thing that's interesting to note with the AHL is the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference don't play each other at all during the regular season.
Right.
Again, travel costs are the big factor there. So we're basically at the point where the Eastern Conference Championship is going on and the Western Conference Championship is going on. These teams have played each other, but when the 2 winners of these 2 series advance, neither's played each other, if ever. They have played each other in a very long time, so it'll be a complete unknown. So both series get underway this weekend. The Western Conference series get underway on Friday night. The first game is at Texas. And then on Saturday night, Saturday afternoon, Toronto hosts the first game of that series. So that's a 4 p.m. Eastern start. And then, of course, the Western Conference one tomorrow night is Texas hosting, and that's 7 p.m. Central, so it would be 8 p.m. Eastern. And unless you have the AHL Live internet package, which is grossly and ridiculously expensive, you won't be able to watch that. I don't understand why the American Hockey League and the East Coast Hockey League charge so much for their streaming. It's like over $300 a year to get every game. Yeah. Minor League Baseball charges $50 a year, and there's 10 times as many teams that you can watch in Minor League Baseball. Yeah. I just don't understand why American Hockey League and East Coast Hockey League, if anybody's listening to our show that has any kind of pull with those 2 leagues, talk some sense into those 2 leagues to drop the price of that. That's close to prices, season ticket prices. Yeah. To watch these games streamed online. It's ridiculous. they're charging. I just wish they would wake up and change the way they're doing things in that sense. So anyway, enough about the American Hockey League. Let's move on to the international stage, where the World Championships are continuing over in Denmark. And we have advanced all the way to the semifinal.
Yes, this is really amazing too, Wayne.
Yep, it is. Team USA is still dominating this tournament right now.
Yep.
So we have, let's see. Yeah, we're right down to the semifinal. All right, to recap, let's just get right to the quarterfinals. Sweden and Latvia were the first quarterfinal matchup, and most of these games took place today, earlier today. Sweden and Latvia advanced to the quarterfinals, and Sweden won that one 3-2. Team USA advanced to the quarterfinals to play Czech Republic, and USA won that game 3-2. Russia and Canada, those two teams always seem to meet in these international tournaments.
Yeah.
Russia and Canada advanced, and that game went to overtime, and Canada won that one 5-4 in overtime. And then the other quarterfinal, Finland played Switzerland, and Switzerland upset the Finns in that one, 3-2. So our semifinals are set. It's Canada versus Switzerland and Sweden versus USA. And of course, the two winners will play in the gold medal game. The two losers will play in the bronze medal game to decide the tournament.
Yep. Have you checked, Wayne, at all into the history of the United States and the last time they won the World Championships?
Oh, they always do very poorly.
Yep. It has been, and I think I hasten to go back, and I'm going to say in the 1960s was the last time we won.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Team USA, when it comes to the world, because of the fact that the World Championship coincides with the later rounds in the NHL playoffs, Team USA, for whatever reason, just doesn't seem to care about this tournament whatsoever. They care about the Olympics, they care about the World Juniors, and they always try to put their best teams, best available team together for this team or for this tournament. For this World Championships, or the World Championships every year, this is more of a European showcase than anything, because Team USA and Canada generally don't put much stock into this tournament. But what a relief it is to see Team USA advancing as far as they have, and they truly are caring this time, because Team USA has assembled a pretty good team, led of course by Patrick Kane, Chicago Blackhawks.
Yep.
So he is he's been a major hero for them up to this point in the tournament, and and of course some of the teams that just got eliminated here at the end of the second round. Some of those players went over there and joined the team as well. David Pastrnak was playing for the Czechs against the USA team this in this quarterfinals, because Pastrnak was a big factor in that Czech Republic team. So, and there are a couple of Hurricanes playing over there for Finland. So, but yeah, Finland with the upset. Team USA is all the way to the semis. And they got a good shot. Sweden's not going to be an easy team, though.
No, that they won't be. And I'm trying to find here where how the United States has done previously. Past World Championship articles. I'm trying to find out the last time we won. Because I'm almost certain, and we may have only won it once or twice. But this is, you got to look at it this way. This is a very prestigious tournament, whether the United States cares or not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's
basically most of the players playing in this tournament are the best players in the world that are outside of the four teams that are still playing in the NHL.
Right, that's correct.
I mean, I'm looking at Team USA's roster right now. Patrick Kane has 19 points in 8 games.
Chris Kreider's had a good series.
Yep. Cam Atkinson, 11 points in 8 games. Charlie McAvoy, 8 points in just 4 games. He joined the team late because the Bruins are playing in the second round. Colin White, 6 points. 3 points in 8 games. You've got Johnny Gaudreau, 9 points in 8 games. Alex DeBrincat plays for the Blackhawks, 8 points in 8 games. Derek Ryan, 7 points in 8 games, plays for the Carolina Hurricanes. So, yeah, you've got a number of NHLers there.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if they list Chris Kreider. I know he's...
And, yeah, for Canada, you've got Aaron Ekblad, of course, 6 points in 8 games. Canada's having a good tournament. Matt Barzal, 7 points in 8 games. Pierre-Luc Dubois, 6 points in 7 games. Tyson Yost, 6 points. Colton Parayko, 7 points. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 8 points. Connor McDavid, 16 points in 8 games. And there's some players that are just joining the team late. Of course, Mark-Edward Vlasic from the Sharks joined the team late. Kyle Turris joined the team late from Nashville. So yeah, it's a good tournament. I wish we could see more of it here in the U.S.
Yes.
Checking out Sweden's team. Oh, Mattias Ekholm joined the team late. He's playing over there. Let's see. Aaron,
and another thing. This championship goes way back too. This is.
Oh yeah.
It's old.
Yep, and it's played every year too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's Rickard Rakell is leading the way for Team Sweden, 13 points in 8 games.
Mm-hmm.
So he's having the best tournament of the year. Mattias Janmark, 9 points for Team Sweden. So those are your leaders there. So yeah, a lot of big names playing in this tournament. Just looking at Russia's roster real quick. Yeah, Russia, I guess, disappointed there a little bit. Pavel Datsyuk was their team leader, 10 points in 8 games. Who, of course, is playing in the KHL, but he's a former star in the NHL as well. So, yeah, real good tournament. But that's where we're at. We're down to the semifinal in that tournament.
Let's see. The United States has won this tournament twice.
And the last time?
Oh, God, it doesn't say. They participated in it 69 times, but they've only won it twice. And let's see.
Well, that says it all right there. 69 appearances, and they've won it twice.
Yeah, 1960, maybe?
What was the last time? Wow.
It's been a long time in the men's world championships since the United States has won this tournament. It is if they win, it should be a shot heard around the world because the United States hasn't won it in 50, maybe 60 years. Wow. A long time. I remember looking at it last year. So truly an amazing feat if they win.
Well, go Team USA then.
Absolutely.
Of course, Canada's still in there too, and of course, we got a lot of Canadian listeners, so go Canada as well. But we are American, of course. The games, if you want to watch them, NHL Network I would be willing to bet is going to have them because I've seen them televise some of the other games. I know I was watching the Sweden-Latvia quarterfinal for a little bit here when I first got home from work. That was on earlier today, and that was on NHL Network. So. The semifinal games are on Saturday, 9:15 a.m. and 1:15 p.m. The Team USA Sweden is the morning game, and the Canada Switzerland is the afternoon game. And then, of course, the championships and the bronze medal game are going to take place on Sunday. Bronze medal game first, 9:45 in the morning, and then the gold medal game at 2:15 Eastern on Sunday. So I'll definitely be able to watch that when I'm off Sunday.
That's
so
good.
If Team USA makes it, I'll miss the Saturday game because I got to work on Saturday, but I'll be able to catch the Sunday game. So hopefully Team USA will pull off the win against Sweden and then make it to the gold medal game. All right. That is it for our minor league hockey minute. So we're down to just our picks of the week.
That's right.
And you wanted to talk about, what did you want to talk about?
Jaromir Jagr.
That's right. Jaromir Jagr. I saw that story.
And I'll go ahead and get it out of the way if you want.
Sure. Go ahead.
Jaromir Jagr is playing, as you know, until he was injured, over in the Czech 1 professional league. And he, of course, cleared waivers. The Calgary Flames put him on waivers back in January, and he went to play over in Czechoslovakia. He may, in fact, probably won't ever play in the NHL again. But you never know. Never say never. This is a guy that I think is definitely driven by the record book. I don't think there's any doubt.
Yeah.
He wants to hold the records. He wants the accolades that come along with that. And you don't see those type of players all the time. Some players hang it up and they don't care one way or the other. They just feel privileged to play. But Jaromir Jagr is truly a phenom. And I think he's very interested in the records and still trying to chase them down. But anyways, my pick of the week. Jaromir Jagr says he will return to play for Kladno in the Czech League. Next season, listen to this now, next season would be the 30th professionally for the second leading scorer in NHL history. That is absolutely amazing, astounding. That really is. 30 seasons in professional hockey. Jaromir Jagr said he intends to play another season for Kladno in the Czech Republic. It would be the 30th professional season for the 46-year-old forward. I will get back in the locker room to my role as a player, Jagr said Monday in remarks translated from the Kladno website. Jagr, who owns the team in the Czech 1 Liga, returned to play for it after clearing waivers from the Calgary Flames on January 29th. An injury then ended his season. Jagr, who had 7 points for Calgary, 1 goal and 6 assists in 22 appearances, can become an NHL unrestricted free agent July 1st. He ranks second in NHL history in points with 1,921, trailing Wayne Gretzky, who had 2,857, is third in goals, 766, behind Gretzky, who had 894, and Gordie Howe, who had 801, and is third in games played at 1,733 games. He trails only Gordie Howe, who had 1,767 games, and Mark Messier, who had 1,756. So he's barely behind those two.
Yep.
I think that's one thing that's in his sights and has motivated him to keep playing. Jagr had a knee injury that chased him to be placed. That caused him to be placed on injured reserve by the Flames and missed time with Kladno, his hometown team. He has been its majority owner since 2011. I want to get completely healthy and then see what happens, Jagr said in April. I don't want to retire yet. I can always play here. My plan is just to get healthy first and then see how far I can go. Jagr told the New York Times then he had not ruled out returning to play in the NHL. Jagr was voted one of the 100 greatest NHL players presented by Molson Canadian. He has 1,155 assists, 14 behind Ray Bourque for fourth in NHL history. Gretzky leads with 1,963 assists. Jagr is the all-time NHL leader with 135 game-winning goals. Jaromir Jagr won the Stanley Cup in 1991 and 1992 with the Pittsburgh Penguins, who selected him number 5 in the NHL draft. He won the Hart Trophy as the NHL's most valuable player in 1999, the Art Ross Trophy as scoring champion 5 times. He won it in 1995, and he won it every year from 1998 to 2001. And he also won the Masterton Trophy for perseverance and dedication to hockey in 2016. He played 2 seasons for Kladno before joining the Penguins for the 1990-1991 NHL season. He also played in the NHL for the Washington Capitals, the New York Rangers, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Boston Bruins, the Dallas Stars, the New Jersey Devils, and the Florida Panthers, and in the Continental Hockey League for the Avangard Omsk. So, there's a guy, I don't think he's going to be back to the NHL, but I'm not going to say that for certain. You never know. If he's an unrestricted free agent and somebody wants to put him on their roster for, half a season, see how he does, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yep. And just imagine of the numbers that he has amassed, where he would be if he hadn't missed 4 seasons.
Yep.
Of play in the NHL.
Yep.
And I say 4. He played the 3 seasons in the KHL, but he also played over in Europe during the lockout year, the year that basically went, where there was no NHL whatsoever that year.
That was 2005.
That would be year number 4 that he did not play over here. Imagine 4 years additional at the rate that he was going at the time. He was still 100 points per year guy during those days, or close to it.
Yep. He would have passed Gretzky for sure.
So just think, adding 400 points and probably 90 more goals onto those point totals if he hadn't missed those years. Yep. Amazing career that he put together for sure.
Yep.
All right. Well, we wish him luck for sure. I don't think he'll be back in the NHL. The fact that he's already announcing that he's going to Kladno tells me that he's probably already looked into interest in the NHL and nobody's going to give him a look.
Yeah.
So I don't think he'll be back. His records in the NHL might as well be sealed at this point because I just don't think he'll be back. Yeah. But we wish him luck anyway. All right. My pick of the week is talking about the Vegas Golden Knights. I know we've talked a lot about them this year, the amazing story they are. But a couple stories I saw from them this week makes me want to be a fan of theirs. Not to the point where I'm, giving up my Bruins, but, I like what they're doing out there. Let's just put it that way. First story was in the national anthem of the first home game in this series. when they're singing the Canadian national anthem. In Winnipeg, they've already got their tradition built in that the singer stops, when they sing the line, True North, Strong and Free.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the singer doesn't say the words True North. He lets the crowds yell it because obviously True North is the ownership group for the Winnipeg Jets. Well, they did that in Vegas. The Vegas singer did, when he got to that point in the Canadian national anthem, he stopped and he let what few Vegas fans or Winnipeg fans that were in the building holler out True North, and then he continued with the song. Classy move, as far as I'm concerned. Very classy move. And then to take the class up another notch, the Vegas Golden Knights hosted the family of the Humboldt Broncos head coach, Darcy Hogan, who passed away on that bus back in early April.
Mm-hmm.
His wife and his 2 sons were the personal guests of the Vegas Golden Knights for their game last night.
Yeah, I saw that article.
And they were, they got to go down, meet several of the players. Marc-Andre Fleury, there's pictures on the website of Marc-Andre Fleury taking time out of his night to talk with the kids. This was right after the game. He hadn't even taken his equipment off yet. He's still wearing his leg pads, and he's sitting there talking to those kids. I mean, just a class organization, or a very, very classy move on their part to do that. So that was my story this week. Is just showing once again, the sport of hockey that by the far and wide are just first class, classy organizations, classy players.
I agree.
Just can't say enough about how good that is. So
agree. Very good.
So,
I agree with you.
Story. But there's a link to the full story on the show notes if you want to read that story. So
it kind of makes me happy to be a hockey fan. As I've always said.
Yep.
We support the best league in professional sports, I think.
Yep, agreed. All right. Well, that's it for this week. We're
that's
done.
it.
Yep, no
we
other
have
stories.
got it knocked out.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. And coming up this week, obviously, we've got the second half of the conference finals. So the next time we record, those should be done or close to being done unless they go 7. And we'll take things from there. By next week's podcast, we'll also have a winner in the World Championships. We will probably have a good idea who's going to win the conference championships in the American League, and we'll probably have a good idea who's going to win the Memorial Cup by this time next week. So we'll have a lot to cover for next week as well. So, all right. Well, until then, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up, and I guess we'll see you next week, Steve.
Sounds good, Wayne. Have a good week, and I look forward to working with you again next week.
All right. Have a good night, Steve.
Good night.
Well, there you have it. If you like the show, please show us your support by subscribing to it using your favorite podcatcher program or app. The Hockey Nuts podcast can be found on major podcast search engines like Apple Podcasts and Google Play Music. Just search for the term The Hockey Nuts in whatever app you use to get podcasts. We can also be found at thehockeywriters.com on their podcast page. TheHockeyWriters.com is a great place to get more stories and content about our favorite sport. We love listener involvement, and there are a few ways you can get involved with the show. You can email the show at feedback@thehockeynuts.com, or you can leave us a voicemail in our mailbox at 919-960-1718. You can also tweet us. I'm at WayneHalley9. Steve is at SBall504man. Also, be sure to visit our website at thehockeynuts.com. There you can see all of our past episodes archived, and you can listen to the show through your web browser on that site. As always, links and stories that we mention in the show are available in the show notes for this episode. In addition to our website, you can also watch us record the show each week live on YouTube. We generally record on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday nights, depending on our work schedules. You can find our YouTube channel at thehockeynuts.com/YouTube. The show is a labor of love for us, but the production of it is not free. To help us offset the cost of producing the show, we've set up various affiliate links on our webpage at thehockeynuts.com. Affiliate links allow you to help us financially support our podcast without costing you any more money out of pocket. Some of the affiliate relationships we have are with Amazon, HockeyMonkey.com, Ting.com, and SeatGeek.com. If you use any of these services, we'd greatly appreciate it if you used our affiliate links to those sites. Simply go to thehockeynuts.com and click on the appropriate advertising banner on the right. Your purchase will not cost you anything extra, and a small portion of your purchase will come back to help support the show. Finally, we're also looking for future guests for the show. Obviously, we're not experts on every team and league in hockey, so if you consider yourself more knowledgeable than us on a particular team or league, we definitely want to hear from you. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Hockey Nuts Podcast, and have a great rest of your day.